first off, I get a chance to congratulate the guy I voted the Trainer of the Year in boxing for last year, so I'll congratulate you right here on the air for that. It was a great year last year. What were the highlights for you?
Kovalev victories, Oliverti, Habib, his victory in France, Monte Carlo. Those are the major highlights for me.
I know you had some rough times as well. I want to talk about you as a trainer. How would you as I always ask fighters to describe their style, how would you describe your style as a trainer?
Some people say I'm too laid back, but I don't try to use a lot of overkill with the fighters. I give them what they need. Their bad points I take away from them. Their good points I try to add what I can, but I let the fighter be the fighter. He has to develop his own style. So I'm a teacher. I feel a teacher of boxing, and there's a lot of so-called trainers, but I feel that I'm a teacher because my teacher, Georgie Benton, was a great teacher, and so I try to give what he gave to me back to the younger fighters.
I had so many wonderful nights with Georgie. We would always end up at a bar, wherever the fight was, late at night. He'd have his jewelry more than mine, and we would sit and talk strategy. He was a strategy guy. How important is it? Freddie has Manny who listens, and Timothy Bradley listens. How important is it for a guy with your style who likes to teach to have a guy who wants to learn?
It's very important, and it's a true joy when you can find a student that's willing to absorb everything that you're trying to teach him and takes it and utilizes it to the best of his ability. With the younger generation coming up now, a lot of these guys unfortunately don't do that. They want to do. Everybody wants to fight like Floyd. Well, that works for Floyd Mayweather and nobody else. But when I can get a kid that's willing to learn and absorbs all that I'm trying to teach him, it's a great, wonderful feeling.
I'm a guy who goes all the way back to being with Muhammad Ali at the Fifth Street Gym, and watching all those guys. And I haven't discussed this with you, but one of the things I think that the trainers are too carried away with these days, and I tell them all the time, and the fighters, is they're mitt crazy. Everybody's mitts. Well, the greatest fighters of all time, in my opinion, a little bit before your time, there were no mitts. They didn't even use mitts. So do you think that's something that's getting a little overblown?
Too much. It's too much becoming overblown. Myself, I didn't really use mitts. I hit the heavy bag. Hit the bag. Yeah. Towards the end of my career, I did a little bit, but it wasn't my thing. And it's like you said, you hit on the head. All these fighters today, they want mitt work. They want 10 rounds of that. So listen, hit the bag. The bag, it's not hit your back because you can learn things on the bag that you can't learn on the mitts. The mitts are great. It's a great cardio workout. A great cardio workout. But unless the person on the mitts for you is teaching you how to slip shots, block, parry, you're not learning anything. He's getting a great cardio workout. So, yes, like you said, it is overblown a lot. And the bad part about that is if you get a young kid that does great mitt work, he may not be teaching you anything, but in the eyes of the fighter, he's great because he's giving you great mitt work. But guess what? He hasn't taught you how to fight in a professional manner.
When I talk to a young fighter coming up, I still think that, and everything's important, the heavy bag, the speed bag, the double in bag, the, slip bag, everything. But to me, the most, if you could, I bet you when John David Jackson was fighting, if you could only do two things, I would say it would have been road work and sparring are still the keys.
Still the keys. Yeah. And a lot of guys just want to do sparring. They don't want to do the road work nowadays, but those are two keys right there.
Let's talk about your beast, Mr. Kovalov. The way I describe him is a guy who has uncommon power.
Yes. When you look at him, he's not built like Mike Weaver type fighter. And you look at him, this guy's scrawny, I'm going to knock him out. But once he gets in the ring, he's just so naturally strong. There's a natural power that he has. And I think in the beginning, a lot of fighters underestimated him of the power. But now everybody knows that he can punch.
One of the things, too, that I don't hear anybody saying about him, you'd know better than is I've never seen him hurt either. So I think he's one of these guys, these rare guys, because sometimes the dudes who can throw can't take it. It seems as though I haven't seen him hurt.
He's been hit on the button a few times, and he just shakes it off. He has a hell of a chin. Has it been truly tested? No, but the shots he's been hit with, he's been able to shake them off and come right back. So, in time, maybe a Stevenson, someone like that, that's having the ring and they'll test that chin, and we'll see if he can really take a great shot.
What are you trying to work on with him now to even make him It's very difficult to make him much better than his record, but to make him better, what are the things you're working on?
Well, like this last fight he had with Agnew. I knew that Agnew was going to be more of a survivor than anything else, especially when he got hit. So I tried to implement with Sergey to be more, when you stalk these guys, feint them, add more feints, set them up more, Use that jab to the body, which he did real nice. Break them down. Don't just go looking for the one-punch knockout. It's going to come, but set them up. Hit them with combination punches, 2s and 3s and 4s. It looks better on camera. And he's a student of the game. So he definitely listens, and that's what he's doing now. Everybody thinks he's a one-punch knockout artist. Well, he has that capability, but he also has boxing ability. It's just that he hasn't to really use it. He's knocking everybody early.
I was just talking to Freddie about this. As long as I've been around boxing, John, I can't remember a time where, because of the asinine business of the sport, we're not having fights being made. Even Arum and King got together back in the day and made fights. And this could be something that's affecting you and your fighter, obviously, with Stevenson. Do you think we can make this fight?
Unfortunately, that fight may go the way of Pacquiao Mayweather. A fight that should have happened a few years ago but never has. Like you said, it all depends on what Stevenson wants to do. He can't, now with Al Heyman, Al's a great guy at what he does. But like I told Sergey, don't worry about that. You're the product. I said, remember one thing in boxing, you are the product. No one's paying Al Heyman to watch him negotiate. Trust that they care less, I just watch you knock people out. So I said, you hold the key.
Yeah.
Don't worry about them. I said, listen, Al is great at whatever he does. I said, I'm not knocking him because he gets the money. I said, but guess what? As long as you're the fighter knocking people out, the people want to see you.
Yeah.
You hold the key. He doesn't hold the key.
Yeah.
He has Stevenson, but he doesn't hold the key. You're the guy. I said, so keep doing what you're doing, and when it's all said and done, you'll get the money that you deserve.
I remember talking with Ray Leonard about this years ago, and I've told Manny and Floyd to their face that if you guys really want the fight, if you really want it, can't the fighters ultimately make the fight?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Because, if the general public wants to see it and they're demanding it, and both you guys want it, you know what you say? Man, forget the feud that you guys are having. The promoters, we want to fight. Make the fight happen. Like I said, when Ray wanted to fight when he wanted Hearns, they made it happen. Hagler, whomever wanted Durant, it was made. Like I said, Durant, at that time, Leonard with Aaron, Durant with King. Guess what? Two guys that always were rivalry, but when they knew they smelled the money also, let's make it happen.
I mentioned part of the rough part, the situation with Mago. What's his condition now? What are we hearing? What are you hearing?
He's out of the coma. I mean, it was induced to open up his head. Unfortunately, he lost a lot of weight. He's down like 160 now. But he's functioning. He can recognize people around him, and it's going to be a slow process for him.
If there's anybody, there's no blame within the corner, because I'm always a guy who's saying fights shouldn't be stopped, and he was competitive the whole fight. And if anything, if there was a problem, it's what we heard about afterwards, the fact that they took so long to get him to the hospital and things of that nature. It's one of those, I just think it's one of those things, John, where it's just part and parcel of our sport and the things that can happen. I guess what we can learn from it, though, is again, that these guys after a fight, if there's any indication, I guess, hey, let's go to the hospital, right away.
And then that was my thing. After the fight, he walked back to the dressing room, he's waving to the fans and talking to people, talking to the mother on the telephone. But then he started saying my head's hurting. And my cut man started putting ice on his head and trying to do the best he could to alleviate the pain. But he just kept saying my head's hurting. I said, and then the doctors came in from the commission, New York State, and they did what they thought they were supposed to. But I said, you know what? If his head hurts, take him to the hospital now. Forget all this other crap you want to do with him. When you get to the hospital, you can do they can do whatever you want to do to him now, but you need to get to the hospital to at least see what's wrong with him. And it was a long procedure, and then he had to find his own way to the hospital. There wasn't like a first aid card there to take him. He had held on a cab. So I think the commission just dropped the ball on a lot of things after the fight. During the fight, my only problem was my interpreter wouldn't interpret for me because he was afraid of Margaret's brother, who for the first time was in the corner with us. Never been there before. And Margaret, since they had such close connection, they were talking to each other. I'm asking, my first question every round was, how do you feel? I never got a response. But, when his nose was messed up, because for the very first punch he got hit with that hurt him was an elbow, was a forearm. That's what broke the nose, or whatever got broken in his face. So I never, during the whole fight, no one ever told me how he feels. Because if I know his hand was broken, and so I would stop it. You can fight another day.
Yeah.
I just had no communication in the corner of how bad or severely hurt he was.
What are your goals the rest of the way as a trainer?
You know, my thing is just to develop young talent. If I can help a guy become world champion and achieve that goal, because it's a great feeling, you know. And I tell him I want everybody to feel what I felt. So if I can just help a kid, you know, if he doesn't reach that goal, but becomes a better fighter and a better person in boxing, that's all I really want to do. I'm not, you know, I don't want to develop 1,000 champions. It'd be great, but I've developed 4 on my own, so you know that I'm happy about that. And nobody right now today has done that. Just a fighter who either no one gave a chance to come back and win the title, or a guy that started from scratch, like my kid Habib. You know, I had him from his first pro fight, and then he had to go back home for a while. But you know, that my thing is just to help the younger fighters now to learn the true art of boxing, not just what you see on TV, but the true art of boxing.
Yeah, we need guys like you. I mean, I've lost so many of my friends, Emmanuel and Angelo Dundee, Georgie Benton, Eddie Futch, who I used to love to sit down with, and I go back to the Ray Arcel days, and so, you know, we certainly need that. I just get your final thoughts on a couple of my pet peeves and again, I'm old school. So when I fought, by the way, we weighed in the day of the fight. I think they should do that again. I know it'd be tough for all these kids.
You know, because even when I, you know, it was nice because it used to be 12 o'clock noon. Then they pushed back to 9 a.m. So that was, a lot of fighters now, they so-called rehydrate. But, you know, when you put on 20 pounds, you're no longer a welterweight, you're no longer a middleweight. You're 2 classes above that. And it's not right, especially for the fighter that maybe keeps his weight down. So I'm with you. It should be back to the 12 or 9 a.m. weigh-in the day of the fight.
And one final thing, for major fights, maybe not all world title, but for like a Kovalov and a Stevenson, should we have 15 rounds again?
That separates the man from the boy. That shows if you train hard for 12-round fights. I think it should be 15-round fights once again. That's, you know, listen, that's old school, but that's the best school. Those are the best fights, and maybe I'm winning for 12 rounds, but 13, 14, 15, I'm gonna get caught, and it might shift the tide of the fight. So, you know, 15-round fights, yes, I would love to see them once again, but the way boxing, everything's micromanaged now, so everything has to be fast and quick. So we might not see those days again. Plus, they got guys trying to fight for world titles, 10 fights, 8 fights, 6 fights, 2 fights. You haven't learned how to fight yet.
Did you ever see $1 Million Baby, the movie? Yeah. It's like Morgan Freeman says, everything in boxing is backwards, but we love it. And congratulations on being my trainer of the year last year, and you're doing a great job. Keep up the great work.
I appreciate it very much. I hope to be your trainer of the year this year. Thank you.